Okay, hello, welcome back. This is going to be another review. This is a fairly recent comic, but it's a reboot. I suppose not even a reboot, it's a continuation of an older series. And as you can see, Interlibrary Loan, this is Great Lakes Avengers. They did a reboot of the series. I got into the series because I like Squirrel Girl, so it's basically what it is a comedy series. It's a spoof off of all the superhero teams and so on. The original run, you can check it out if you'd like. But what they did in the original run was there's some really funny moments, but it's in an attempt to make fun of how comics and a lot of other mediums manipulate a person. What they did was that they decided that one member of the team would be killed in each episode, and for the most part, it's actually in a humorous ways, like Grasshopper accidentally jumping too high and leaving the Earth's orbit and dying in space and things like that, where it's just meant to be absurd. But one of the things they made a mistake with two of the characters was that they got you emotionally involved in those characters before they killed them, which I can kind of understand them doing because that's essentially what a lot of mediums do. They get you emotionally involved in one of the characters and then kill them off to create more pathos. And give them credit for making it, making fun of that, but also it doesn't, it's a little too emotional for me personally. But that and what they did following it was actually quite good. So basically, the reboot that has them kind of getting back together. So what had happened? Apparently, off comic, at least I haven't found it, was Big Bertha and Mr. Immortal had apparently gotten together, then had a really vicious breakup, and so the team just broke up because of that. So let's go back in the history to talk about how they get back together in this. So in the original run, they started calling themselves the Great Lakes Avengers, and one of the characters, Flatman, whose ability is being flat. He's basically like Mr. Fantastic, but flat. He had applied for a copyright on the name, only discovered that the Avengers held the copyright, and so they had to change the name. They changed the name to Great Lakes X-Men because they were all mutants, and eventually they had to change it around a little bit more just for copyright issues, which is pretty funny in and of itself. So this book starts out with lawyers for Avengers. So somehow, through some weird legal thing, they lost the original copyright, got lost, and the only other person who had a copyright for the name Avengers was Flatman. So basically, he negotiates, did some actually really good negotiating, and got the Avengers to acknowledge the Great Lakes Avengers as a part of the Avengers. So makes it really fun. So he's going around getting everybody back together. The one sour note, the one thing that didn't quite work, was when he tried to contact Squirrel Girl. Now, Squirrel Girl, of all the people who've had interactions with the Great Lakes Avengers, she is the one who actually took them seriously as human beings, as people. Pretty much nobody else did. But they have, in this one, they have them calling her up and her not answering her phone because she's at a dinner with a bunch of other superheroes from New York City, and then that's all you hear of her. So presumably off comic, off screen. I'll use the term off screen. She contacted them and said, "Nope, sorry, busy in New York, but hey, good luck to you." That's my mental. Yeah, that happened in my mind. That counts, right? Anyway, so yeah, gets them back together, and it's actually pretty funny as they go after some bizarre, interesting new villains, new weird, funny things. Mr. Immortal has decided to spend a year underground. Mr. Immortal's powers is he can't die. Or he can die, but he'll come back to life. So he spent a year underground without food or water. Which, even if I couldn't die, that's probably not going to be my first choice, and he's immediately regretting it. It's actually kind of funny. So actually, we got that picture on the back of him in his grave. So yeah, it's really funny and silly. So a lot of comics nowadays have gone, pushing politics that aren't necessarily agreed with by the people who read comics. So there are a few warning signs that they might start pushing politics, but they don't officially in this one. So I'm going to go over what a couple of those warning signs are. But first off, well, I'm going to talk about Big Bertha. Big Bertha is quite possibly the most politically incorrect character ever created. Her ability is she can gain mass, and it's generally in the form of fat. But there's some muscle and some strength behind it too. But unlike someone like, say, the Hulk, she can't immediately get rid of the mass. You know, she can't just magic it away. So what she does is purge it. And if you know your certain medical terms, you'll recognize what that is immediately. If you don't, I'll spell it out. She throws up. All her excess fat gets thrown up, which in the long run can't be good for you. It's like all the stomach acid in your esophagus. Yeah. Anyway, it eats away your throat. It's not healthy, but maybe she has a power that stops that. That's not really mentioned in this one, and in fact, well, what was interesting about her was she worked as a supermodel and as Big Bertha. So in her thin form, she was a supermodel, but then she automatically gains weight and becomes Big Bertha. This one, she still works as a model, but she's kind of thrown off her original supermodel ideology and kind of, you know, kept her form in a happy medium. So we'll kind of take a look at it. So that's Big Bertha right there, and yeah, she keeps it kind of, you know, not as big as she normally is, but not the super thin model she once was. And I'm actually all for that. I think that's a pretty cool move for the character. And it's a natural progression that she would stick to a form she's more comfortable with, and going from the extremes probably isn't all that comfortable. So, you know, I think it's a natural progression. That's not kind of the warning signs, but what is kind of a warning sign nowadays, which is kind of sad because 5 years ago this would not have been a warning sign, is her hairstyle. If you'll take a look at that again, she shaved part of her head. Now, personally, I'm all for women shaving their heads. In a lot of women, I find it attractive, which with nowadays politics, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, so just ignore that I just said that. But, you know, it's occasionally taken as a sign of an extreme feminism or something like that, and that's not really the character. She's a strong woman, sticks up for herself, but she's not kind of that extreme sort of thing. So that's only a slight warning thing there. And then here's the other one. There are a couple new characters introduced. One person who they had originally been texting Mr. Immortal, but apparently he got the wrong number, and he was texting some girl, like 21-year-old girl, and she shows up instead, and she says, "Wait, didn't you realize that when I said Mr. Immortal in there that I wasn't texting you?" And her response is, "I just don't like to make assumptions." Which, yeah, makes sense. So she's kind of being their secretary and working out their base. But they introduce a character called Good Boy. So you'll understand why this might be a warning sign, but honestly, this feels more like they're making fun of certain identity politics. So this is right up there. There, you can see it. That girl there is Good Boy's normal form, is a teenage female girl. And this is what, right there is what Good Boy looks like when she changes into her werewolf form. So when she changes from human to werewolf, she changes gender, so she becomes male. The word they use is fursona. Her fursona is male, but she herself is female. That sounds, it seems more like they're making fun of a little bit of the identity politics, and two, it feels video gamey, because, you know, I play video games and I've played plenty of female characters in video games, but that doesn't detract from my inherent maleness. I am male. Go figure. So, you know, there is that, and actually characters quite enjoyable in both forms. They did a good job writing it. So those are a couple of small warnings, but there's nothing I think that would be overtly offensive to most people in reading this. It is a lot of fun. It has kind of a darker gallows humor, especially with Mr. Immortal, who's, I don't know how many times he's died in the comics, and he's only been around for a few years, but he dies a few more times in this comic. It's pretty fun. It's well worth reading. There's always something bizarre happening with these guys, and yep, very very fun. So yep, recommend it. I wish I could take this thing off, but you know, when you have very little money and you have to, you know, spend your money wisely, which I've never been good at, but I try. Have to go through interlibrary loan. So anyway, I would recommend. We'll do it like this. Let's see. Great Lakes Avengers. Same old, same old. Recommend, yeah, pick it up through Interlibrary alone. Take a look at it. You can pick up the original, but just be warned, you're going to get certain characters that will show up that you like that get killed off fairly callously. So, only warning for that one. And Squirrel Girl, like I said, only cameo Squirrel Girl. Also cameo from Deadpool, which is kind of interesting because Deadpool was never he was kind of a member, but kind of not officially a member. He was more the guy you invite over for one mission who ends up, staying on your couch and you can't get rid of him until you call Squirrel Girl back and kick him out, which is pretty much what happened in the previous one. It's actually pretty funny. Anyway, cameo by Squirrel Girl, Deadpool, and a few new characters. It's well worth checking out if you like it. Anyway, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.